Hey everyone, Carl here with Literate Lessons, and surprise, we're continuing our look at some of the Paradox Pokemon. Today, we're looking at Iron Valiant. This Pokemon is very interesting with its fairy and fighting typing, and overall, boasts some very interesting stats. I would say that this is more of a singles Pokemon by all definition, because you have a very high attack, a very high special attack, and a very high speed, and you kind of lack in your defensive options. However, this Pokemon will also probably be very good into the VGC meta, specifically because it answers a lot of the big, scary Paradox Pokemon that people have been using as of late. Looking over its stats here, we see that it does have a very high attack stat and a very high special attack stat. Most of the time, you will probably play this as a physical attacker. I believe its physical pool is much deeper than its special pool, mainly due to the fact that it's like a Gallade meets a Gardevoir kind of fusion for a Paradox Pokemon. So you get a lot of Gallade's stuff on top of some not so common things. Things like Shadow Sneak, Liquidation, Shadow Claw, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Fire Punch, Drain Punch, and all that cool stuff. So there's definitely some interesting things you can do with Iron Valiant for sure. But a lot of what you'll see most likely is these Focus Sash sets doing something. I know a lot of common sets are like Close Combat, Icy Wind, Spirit Break, and Protect, and we'll talk more about that in depth here in a little bit, but I also kind of want to go over what a booster energy with this Pokemon does, because this is where this thing thrives, is any of these stats can be any of the big stats, the attack, the special attack, or the speed, can be used by booster energy. Whereas certain Pokemon, like we've talked about with Iron Bundle before, if you look at Slitherwing, they are very restrictive on what stats get boosted via booster energy. So you have a lot of play with the EVs on your Iron Valiant to get certain boosts. Physical boost naturally will be the one that you naturally get, the physical attack. You can do I believe, modest nature changes it enough to where, since it's minus attack plus special attack, to where you'll get that special attack boost. Any plus speed nature will immediately get you that speed boost on booster energy. And so it'll be interesting to play with and kind of see how fast do I need to be, how hard do I need to hit, and is booster energy the right item for me? Let's talk about a little bit about why I think this Pokemon is so good. A lot of people are kind of pushing Iron Valiant off to the side, mainly due to the fact that its stats are kind of all over the place. They're not sure what to do with it, and there's always a better Pokemon for things like Paradox forms, things like that. Iron Valiant checks Iron Bundle, Iron Hands, Roaring Moon, and Fluttermane without having to be super duper weird and invest super hard. I mentioned that mixed set, that Close Combat and Moonblast set, that will check every single one of these Pokemon for the most part. You could also play Spirit Break into Fluttermane to deal with it, but overall, you really have no hard issues dealing with any of these four Pokemon, and all of these are going to be very popular in the meta. I would call Iron Valiant it's the anti-meta Paradox Pokemon. It's the Pokemon that you're going to put on your teams to check the other paradoxes. If your team has a hole that you can't really fix with the rest of your 5, Iron Valiant kind of slips into that slot and fills that niche. That answer to Fluttermane, that answer to Roaring Moon, beats up Iron Hands, can beat up Iron Bundle, do whatever you need it to do. It extends beyond that because the coverage pool is so deep on Iron Valiant that it can check pretty much all the others too. The other popular ones, I think, being like Great Tusk, since you have psychic coverage, you answer that very well. Iron Treads isn't going to be popular. Iron Jugulis isn't going to be that great, but you check both of them really well. Trying to think here of other paradoxes that would see play. This first build is probably what you'll see most of the time. This is a common set that we saw, I believe, take second place in an online tournament. I believe that is Duran's event. Anywho, it was an Icy Wind Close Combat Spirit Break and Protect set with Focus Sash. I kind of took the liberty of doing some calcs with the EVs and kind of looking at the team and getting some ideas. This is kind of what I come up with. Doing the math for this, 155 is the magic number for Iron Bundle. So if you wanted to use Tailwind alongside Iron Valiant, which I highly recommend, things like Murkrow, Talonflame, Hydreigon, etc. 155 will put you at 310, which will always outspeed Iron Bundle with booster energy. Obviously, things like Talonflame and Murkrow are going to be better at getting you to that spot, but you could always just click Protect in front of Iron Bundle and click Tailwind with whatever next to it, and you'll get the job done. On top of that, we are trying to maximize our attack stat, because we do have two very strong physical attack moves in Close Combat and in Spirit Break. Icy Wind is very interesting because we can outspeed Iron Bundle with Tailwind. There is a situation where we might want to set up Icy Winds for later. That way we can kind of make that Iron Bundle a little bit slower, make that Flutter Mane a little bit slower, and can get a better speed advantage once Tailwind goes away. This second set is, I would say, a very cool set. This one is much more about surviving and utility than actually picking up OHKOs, but you still deal a lot of damage. Looking at this set here, if I remember correctly, if all my calcs were right, this will live Moonblast from a timid non-life orb 252 Flutter Mane, which that's a super effective hit off a very high base special attack stat into our very mediocre special defense and not very great HP, and we can survive that hit without terrestrialization. If we do Terra, Flutter Mane can't touch us. We just blow right through it. On top of that, Spirit Break will be an OHKO into that Flutter Mane a good chunk of the time. Beyond that, we do have things like Drain Punch to kind of help our survivability. One of my favorite things when we have Assault Vest on Pokemon is that anything with recovery means that you get to live longer and get to do more damage. Drain Punch on this Pokemon is insane because you heal for a portion of your damage dealt, and so the more damage you deal, the better off you're going to be, and this thing's really high attack stat makes that a real good chunk of health. We still have that utility with Icy Wind. Notably, this also hits that 155 stat, so alongside Tailwind, you will outspeed Iron Bundle, can do the speed thing and whatever. We are also playing Knockoff. Knockoff gets to remove an opposing item because that's how Knockoff works. It also just kind of helps us out and gives us some extra coverage into like ghost types and things like that. Things we would have a harder time hitting for super effective damage, we can hit those now. Same thing with like psychic coverage like Indeedee and other things like that. Looking at cores, this is going to be a harder Pokemon to build a core around. One of the things that this does very, very well, though, is it kind of fits into that Goldango Murkrow strategy. You do have access to Wide Guard, which is a very powerful ability, especially for Goldango. You also have access to Close Combat and Spirit Break, which are both very good moves into opposing Pokemon. You could also play a kind of mixed set with Moonblast and have this Close Combat Moonblast set, depending on what side you want to be on. If I remember correctly, there's a calc where you can still pick up KOs with Close Combat and pick up OHKOs with Moonblast, so that'll be something to experiment with if that is something you're interested in. But the reason this all works so well is because Murkrow is the perfect partner for both Iron Valiant and Goldango. Iron Valiant and Goldango also check each other's weaknesses really well. Goldango being able to resist that Steel type, that Flying type, the Psychic type, and things like, not the Psychic type, Murkrow's immune to the Psychic type. But you can deal damage to most Psychic types with Shadow Ball, you deal massive damage with Make It Rain. Iron Valiant answers a lot of the Goldango problems. When you Terra Steel with your Goldango, you really don't want to take a Fighting type attack. You resist Fighting type with Iron Valiant. You have Spirit Break to hit those Pokemon that are Fighting type in front of you, so on and so forth. And that's a wrap on Iron Valiant. While not the most on its face value, like explicit Pokemon on what to do with this thing, you can definitely explore what Iron Valiant can do for your team and kind of mix and match and kind of mold it into what you want it to do. If you like what you see, make sure to do all that fun YouTube stuff for us. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely helps us out a ton. Make sure to come join the Discord. We have an event on Sunday. Starts at 11 a.m. EST. It's Series 1. There's like currently 18 entrants, so if you're interested in that, come join the Discord. Get the join code so you can go and play in that. But other than that, hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We will see you all on Sunday for a special laddering episode. Bye, everyone.